Did you know that Einstein was a socialist? In fact, he actually wrote a whole essay on why he thinks capitalism blows as an economic system and why socialism is better. Did you know that Stephen Hawking regularly expressed support for the Labour Party in the UK, which is a democratic socialist party? And if you're still not tracking, that's what AOC and Bernie and Mamdani are, people who get the label of like these radical leftist Marxists in America, whereas the reality is in the rest of the world and in the rest of history, those are actually just pretty mild takes. Did you know that Martin Luther King was a democratic socialist? Especially later in life, when he talked about how capitalism is what leads to social and racial injustices. Did you know that Helen Keller was a democratic socialist and was the OG person who linked disability rights back to capitalism and class struggle? Did you know that George Orwell, the guy who wrote 1984, that conservatives love to quote when they think the government's trying to control them or whatever, was a democratic socialist? In fact, he actually fought in a left-wing militia in the Spanish Civil War. Like, he physically fought for his left ideologies. Did you know that people with postgraduate degrees, meaning master's degree or higher, who identify as Democrat, outnumber those that identify as Republican by a factor of like 2 to 1? And if you focus in on the people who study politics, you know, the point of this conversation, especially those that study history and other humanities, that ratio changes from 2 to 1 to like 12 to 1. When I hear 99.9% of scientific studies performed by people considered experts in their field, the thing that they spend all of their time studying and using their brains to think about, are telling me that climate change is human caused and human exacerbated, and it is going to lead to billions of deaths unless we do something to stop or slow it down, then I say, well, we should change something. And conservatives say, well, no, we shouldn't, because climate change is actually just natural progression of changes in temperature, even though that's been disproven and undermined hundreds, if not thousands of times, and tell me that no, actually China invented climate change to slow America down, or that no, actually the government's controlling the weather. Which one of those two groups of people do you think has more brains? One of them, I can say, linked it to data and using their brains to analyze the data and the evidence. And the other just doesn't like change. When I hear medical doctors, the people who spend decades getting to a point where they're legally allowed to practice medicine, tell me that vaccines are safe and effective and do not cause autism, and that gender-affirming care is necessary medical treatment, I'm going to listen to the ones who study this for a living and use their brains for a living. So yeah, if you're going to ask me whether I think the left or right uses their brain more, I'm going to pick the left.